Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're taking a deep dive into Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's all about those small changes we can make that lead to remarkable results over time.
Exactly. Like the idea that if you could just improve yourself by 1% every day for a year,
Uh-huh.
you would end up like 37 times better by the end of the year.
It's pretty crazy when you think about it like that, right?
Yeah, it really is.
So this book is all about kind of harnessing that power
Absolutely.
of those small incremental improvements.
The compounding effect.
And I think one of the most interesting things is it's not really about setting these big, huge goals, right?
It's not about the goal, yeah.
It's about the system.
It's about the system.
So like, instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, it's saying, I want to become a runner.
Right.
And so it's really about focusing on building sustainable systems that just naturally lead to those outcomes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so like if you want to write a book, you don't necessarily stress about the whole book. You just focus on building a system of, let's say, writing a page a day.
Right. One page at a time.
So let's dive into some of the key concepts here.
Okay. Sounds good.
And one of the biggest ones is the habit loop.
Yes.
So this is a 4-stage cycle
Okay.
that kind of explains how habits work. So first you have the cue,
Okay, the cue
which is basically what triggers the habit.
triggers the
So
habit.
it could be like a certain time of day,
Right, like in the morning.
or maybe if
If you're feeling stressed.
then you have the craving,
Right.
which is, the desire that motivates us to take action.
That makes sense.
And then, of course, you have the response, which is the actual habit itself, right?
So the actual action, the thing you do.
And then finally, you have the reward,
Ah, the reward. Yes.
which reinforces the habit
Right.
and makes us more likely to want to repeat it.
That makes sense.
Now, this reward doesn't have to be some huge thing.
No, not at all.
Yeah. It can be something as simple as just a feeling of accomplishment or satisfaction.
Absolutely. Just a little dopamine hit.
And, one of the things that I thought was really cool about the book was the 2-minute rule.
Oh, yeah. The 2-minute rule is great.
This is where you break any new habit that you want to build into just a 2-minute version
Right.
to make it super easy to start.
Very easy. Yeah.
Like if you want to meditate for 20 minutes,
yeah.
just start with 2 minutes of silence.
Exactly. Just get started.
Because it's all about making that initial step
Mhm.
as effortless as possible.
Makes sense.
And then another thing that I thought was really cool is the idea that our environment plays a really crucial role
Oh, for sure.
in shaping our habits.
Absolutely.
So it's all about designing your surroundings to support your desired habits.
Right.
So if you're trying to eat healthier, like, make sure you have healthy snacks readily available
Visible. Yeah.
and put the junk food out of sight.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
Now, speaking of, success and things like that,
Yeah.
one thing that the book highlights is that progress isn't always linear, right?
Right. It's not always a straight line up.
So they introduce this idea of the plateau of latent potential,
Oh, yeah. The plateau.
where we might feel like we're kind of stuck,
So it can rut.
but those consistent efforts are actually building towards a breakthrough.
They are. Yeah.
So it's like if you're pushing a boulder up a hill,
Good analogy.
it seems like nothing's happening for a while.
Right.
And then suddenly it rolls over the top.
Rolls right over.
And habits work in a similar way.
They do, yeah.
Those small, consistent efforts eventually lead to a significant change.
Absolutely.
So it's really encouraging to know that even when we don't see those immediate results,
Right.
those consistent efforts are laying the groundwork for a breakthrough.
For sure.
So now let's kind of delve a little deeper into this habit loop.
Okay.
What are some examples of cues
Cues. Okay.
that trigger a habit, either good or bad?
Right. Right.
So think about your morning routine.
Okay, morning routine?
You know your alarm clock is a cue to get out of bed,
To get out of bed.
or seeing your running shoes
Oh, yeah.
could be a cue to go for a run.
Right.
On the other hand, stress at work
Oh,
might be
yeah.
a cue to reach for a sugary snack.
Absolutely. A bad habit cue.
So, the first step to changing our
Yeah.
behavior is to recognize these cues.
To recognize them. Yeah.
Right. Once we're aware of the triggers,
Yeah.
then we can work on either strengthening the cues that lead to positive habits
Right.
or disrupting the ones that lead to the ones we want to break.
Exactly. Got to break those bad habits.
And then the next stage, the craving.
The craving. Yeah.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay. Tell me more.
This is all about that motivational force behind the habit, the desire that actually drives us to act.
The driving force.
So how do we make a habit more desirable?
Yeah. How do we make it stick?
So we actually crave it.
Right. Right.
How do we make those good habits stick?
Good question.
I mean, the book offers a lot of different strategies for this.
It does, yeah.
But one that I thought was really cool
Okay.
was temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling, I like that.
So this is where you link something you want to do
Mm-hmm.
with something you need to do.
Okay.
So, for example, you might only allow yourself to watch your favorite TV show
Oh, I see.
while you're working on a presentation.
So you're kind of rewarding yourself
Exactly.
for doing the thing you need to do.
For making that, necessary task
Right.
more appealing.
That's clever.
So we've talked about the cue, the craving.
Uh-huh.
Now let's move on to the response.
Okay. The response?
This is the actual action
Yeah.
within the habit loop.
Okay.
This is where the rubber meets the road, right?
Absolutely. This is where it all happens.
And the key here
Yeah.
is making the response as easy as possible.
As easy as possible, yeah.
The easier the action,
Mhm.
the more likely you are to actually do it.
Right.
Remember that 2-minute rule?
Yeah, the 2-minute rule.
That's a great example of this.
It is, yeah.
Simplifying the response to promote habit formation.
Makes perfect sense.
So make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy.
Those are the keys.
Those are the keys so far.
I like it.
And then finally, we have
The reward.
the reward.
The satisfaction that we derive
Yes,
from the habit.
right.
So how does this stage solidify the entire habit loop?
Well, the reward is kind of the magic that makes it all stick.
Uh-huh.
It creates this positive feedback loop in the brain
Mm-hmm.
that makes you want to repeat the behavior.
Okay.
So when you experience pleasure or satisfaction after a habit,
Mm-hmm.
your brain releases dopamine,
Oh, wow.
and it strengthens those neural pathways.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be this big reward. It can be just a sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. That's enough sometimes.
And the more immediate and noticeable the reward, the
Huh.
more likely you are to stick with the habit.
Right.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's why those habit trackers can be so effective,
Oh, I love habit trackers.
because it gives you that visual representation of progress
Uh-huh.
and that immediate sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. You can see your progress.
This is incredibly insightful.
It is, yeah.
I'm really enjoying this.
Me too.
So far, we've learned to focus on systems,
Right.
understand the habit loop,
Yeah.
and make those small, consistent changes that lead to significant results over time.
Absolutely.
But before we move on to any, real-world applications,
Okay.
let's discuss the idea of habit stacking.
Habit stacking. Okay.
So this is where we connect a new habit that we want to form
Hmm.
with an existing one, right?
That's right. Yeah. So you're basically using the momentum of an existing habit
Uh-huh.
to help you establish a new one.
Exactly.
So let's say you want to start like a daily gratitude practice.
Okay, yeah.
You could stack this new habit onto your existing habit of brushing your teeth each morning.
Okay.
So after you brush your tooth, you spend like a minute just reflecting on things you're grateful for.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a simple way to incorporate it into your routine.
It's all about seamlessly integrating these new habits into our routine.
Exactly.
And the book also emphasizes that,
Yeah.
motivation alone isn't always enough.
No, it's not.
We should really design our environment to support those desired habits.
Absolutely.
So it's about removing friction for
Right.
good habits
Yeah.
and increasing friction for bad ones.
Makes sense.
If you want to read more, keep a book on your bedside table.
Easy access. Yeah.
If you want to eat healthier, make sure your fridge is stocked with fruits and vegetables.
Right. Healthy choices front and center.
It's all about setting ourselves up for success.
For sure.
And speaking of success, remember that plateau of latent potential we talked about earlier?
The plateau. Yeah.
Progress isn't always linear.
No, it's not.
Sometimes we might feel stuck,
We all feel stuck sometimes.
but those consistent efforts are actually setting the stage for a breakthrough,
Right. It's like you're building up to something.
like pushing a heavy boulder up a hill.
The boulder again.
It takes effort, and for a while it seems like nothing is happening.
Yeah, you're just pushing and pushing.
But then suddenly,
Well,
the boulder reaches the tipping point
right over the top.
and rolls over the top.
It's a great analogy.
Habits work in a similar way.
They do, yeah.
It's a powerful analogy.
It is.
It reminds us that consistency is key,
Consistency is key, yeah.
even when results aren't immediately visible.
Even when you can't see them.
Those small 1% improvements are accumulating,
They are, yeah.
and eventually they'll lead to a significant shift.
Absolutely.
So now let's talk about feedback loops.
Feedback loops, okay.
The book highlights that what is immediately rewarded is repeated.
Mm-hmm.
What is immediately punished is avoided.
Right.
This principle really underscores the role of reinforcement in forming habits.
It does, yeah.
So we can create immediate rewards for ourselves
Right.
after performing a desired habit.
Like a little celebration.
Like if you're trying to establish a workout routine,
Okay. Working out?
reward yourself with a healthy smoothie or a relaxing bath after each session.
Oh, I like that.
And on the flip side,
Yeah.
we can introduce negative consequences for habits we're trying to break.
Right. Make it less appealing.
So, trying to cut back on social media,
Yeah, social media is a big one.
install an app that blocks certain websites
Oh, that's a good idea.
during specific hours.
I might have to try that.
Of course, Atomic Habits is a very rich and insightful book
It is, yeah.
with many more principles and strategies than we can cover in this deep dive.
We could talk about it for hours.
We really could.
But hopefully this gives you a good taste.
Yeah, we've touched on building systems, understanding the habit loop, making those small, consistent changes that lead to remarkable results over time.
Absolutely, the small things add up.
But let's not forget about the power of those tiny gains.
Oh, yeah, the tiny gains are important.
It's inspiring to remember that even the smallest actions, when repeated consistently, can have a profound impact on our lives.
Right, you don't have to do everything at once.
You don't need to make drastic changes overnight.
Just small steps, one at a time.
It's all about those small, incremental steps.
Exactly.
Now, before we wrap up,
Okay.
let's touch upon one more crucial concept:
All right, what is it?
identity-based habits.
Identity-based habits. Oh, yeah.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The book argues that our habits should align with the person we want to be.
Right, like who you want to become.
It's a shift from I want to do this
Mm,
to I am this kind of person.
I like that.
So instead of saying I want to lose weight,
Yeah.
you say I'm a healthy person who makes choices that support my well-being.
So it's about changing your mindset
Exactly.
and your identity.
It's about aligning our actions with the identity we want to embody.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
It is, yeah.
Our beliefs shape our actions,
Mm-hmm.
and our actions reinforce our beliefs.
It becomes a cycle.
And this concept of identity-based habits is central to creating lasting change.
Absolutely. It's about who you are at your core.
It's about becoming the best version of ourselves,
I love that.
one small habit at a time.
One habit at a time. Yeah,
This has been a fantastic exploration of Atomic Habits.
it has. I've really enjoyed it.
I'm personally feeling very inspired to implement these principles in my own life.
Me too. Lots of great takeaways.
What's the biggest takeaway for you from this book?
I think for me, it's that reminder that we have the power to shape our lives through our habits.
Mm-hmm.
Even the smallest actions, when repeated consistently, can lead to extraordinary outcomes.
I agree.
And that we're not defined by our past, but by the choices we make each day.
Absolutely.
We're all works in progress.
That's right.
And we have the ability to continuously evolve and grow
Yes.
through the power of our habits.
Now, before we sign off, we have a special offer for our listeners. We're really excited to offer you a free audiobook of Atomic Habits by James Clear.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can find the link in the comments.
Sweet.
Audiobooks are just a great way to, really immerse yourself in a book,
They are, yeah.
especially if you're always on the go.
Absolutely.
And they also make really thoughtful gifts.
They do.
If you're looking for something
For sure.
for that special someone.
Yeah, great idea.
So, by grabbing this audiobook for free, you're already starting to build that positive habit
I like it.
of lifelong learning
Absolutely.
and to keep these insightful deep dives coming your way.
Yes,
We encourage you to support our channel.
please do.
We're passionate about bringing you this really knowledge-packed content,
We are.
and your support helps us create even more of it.
It really does.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Atomic Habits,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with this.
Okay, shoot.
What tiny habit can you start today
Good question.
to get 1% better?
That's a great question to ponder.
Remember, small changes consistently applied
Yeah.
can lead to extraordinary results
They really can.
over
And
time.
it's the magic of compounding.
Keep those atomic habits rolling,
Keep them rolling.
and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.
See you then.